Hey there folks, John here with Through My Lens, and today I'm coming to you with another knife-related video. Today we're going to be taking a look at this Hinderer XM-18 Skinny in Battle Black DLC. Now, it's been quite some time since I've done a knife video, and even longer since I've done a video on a Hinderer XM-18, and that's mainly because I pretty much have all the knives that I want and way more than I need. Now currently I have about 6 different Hinderer XM-18s. I have 2 full-size models, one of which is this extremely rare Fullard XM-18, which you can see here. And one of the others is perhaps my favorite Hinderer blade grind, which is a Bowie blade. Really nice. I like this one a lot. Now, the other 4 are all Skinny XM-18s. See if I can get them all here in frame, or at least close. There we go. Now, fans of Through My Lens know that I have talked a lot in the past about why I consider the Skinny XM-18 to be the ultimate EDC XM-18. But essentially, the skinny versions are lighter and more slender, which makes them more comfortable to carry every day, more so than the full-size version. And the blade stock is typically thinner than the full-size models, which means they tend to overcome one of the biggest criticisms of the XM-18, which is they don't cut very well for everyday cutting tasks. Now, the XM-18 can be found in several different blade grinds, so this criticism is more true of some blade grinds than others. But you have to keep in mind that the XM-18 was designed with the needs of first responders, law enforcement officers, or even military personnel in mind, which is to say the XM-18 is intended to be used in ways which normally fall outside the normal use case for a knife. Prying, for example. Normally you wouldn't use a knife as any sort of a pry tool, but in the case of the XM-18, you can. But to be able to function in that way, the blade stock of the XM-18 is typically thicker than what you find in most knives, which means the knife blade on some grinds is also correspondingly thicker and just not as effective as a fine cutting tool, as compared to some other popular EDC knives out there. So for the past 3 years, the Skinny XM-18 has pretty much been my EDC knife of choice. For a long time, I had 3 examples, 2 of which were slicer grind examples, which tends to be my favorite all-around performer. And those would be these 2. This one's in a blue-black G10 with some blue anodized hardware. This one is a flat dark earth, an FDE G10 with some bronze hardware decorating it. But I also have a Skinny sheep's foot grind, which is a very effective EDC grind and also has a bit more aesthetic appeal than some of the more utilitarian grinds like the slicer grind. Now, all of these knives have some interesting Hinderer accessory components installed on them. This Skinny sheep's foot I've kept pretty stock, but it does have the spacer here for the pocket clip spacer in the annual version. This one's a 2020 version. And these others that I showed you also have the annual versions. This one's got the anniversary, the 35th anniversary spacer there. Spacer tab, and this one also has a 2020 tab, which is, I think I got both of these in 2020. So I generally carry all these Skinny knives with dress clothes in the office. In the full-size versions, I'll break out sometimes on the weekends. So why did I get the Battle Black DLC Skinny XM-18? Well, for one thing, I've always wanted an XM-18 with a black coating. Now, this is something I go into more detail in the written photo review that can be found in Through My Lens, but Hinderer essentially has 3 different black coatings for their knives. And they don't release them very often, so they are quite rare. So there I am sitting in my office checking my email, and I see an email from DLT Trading that they had a drop come in of Skinny XM-18s in Battle Black DLC. Now I had to think for a minute which of the 3 black coatings that I prefer, but I was pretty sure Battle Black DLC was not my favorite. Now when I was at Blade Show several years ago, I went to the Hinderer booth and had the opportunity to see all 3 versions side by side, and I decided that I preferred the Stonewash DLC. I liked it a little bit more because it was shinier. In most cases, I don't like Hinderer battle finishes, like the Battle Blue or the Battle Bronze. The battle finishes are intended to give the knife a more pre-worn look. Some people like that look, and in theory it's a better finish for a working or a user knife. It's just not my thing. If you look closely at the Battle Black DLC finish, you can see some of the distressed finish on the knife, but in most light, I think it looks just like a flat black finish, which I really like. Now, I already had the Black G10 Skinny handle scale that I was able to install, and I was able to source a Battle Black DLC 2024 filler tab, which you can see that I've installed. It's right here. It's a 2024 annual version, so I was lucky enough to find one in the year that I bought the knife. Now, I briefly considered getting some additional Battle Black DLC hardware, but I actually really like the contrast between the silver hardware elements and the black finish. I think it gives it a consistent look with the silver writing that's on the blade. Now, in terms of blade steel, this knife has a CPM MAGNACUT blade. Now, among knife nerds, MAGNACUT is considered arguably the best knife steel currently available. But like any knife steel, its overall performance will be governed by the heat treat that is applied. And the heat treat that Hinderer applies to their MAGNACUT blades is a source of controversy, to say the least. And it really shouldn't be. Again, this is a subject I go into greater detail on my written photo review, again found on Through My Lens. You can find that in the description box of this video. But just know that the heat treat that Hinderer is applying to their MAGNACUT blades prioritizes hardness over edge retention. Now, that decision is not intrinsically good or bad, it's simply a conscious decision to prioritize certain blade properties over others in how the knife steel is heat treated. It's sort of like a car manufacturer prioritizing performance over ride quality. Now, I, like most knife consumers, really don't use my knives nearly enough to for this sort of subtlety in the heat treat to make any sort of a meaningful impact in how I, my user experience. I'm an office worker. If I use a knife to cut something, it's probably a box, tape, or the occasional string. And to be honest, I carry a Victorinox Cadet to handle most of the small cutting tasks that I run into day to day. Now, let me take a moment to talk about the flipping action of this knife, because the Hinderer XM-18 Tri-Way Pivot is well renowned for smooth and consistent flipping action. I had always wondered if the black-coated knives would negatively, impact the flipping action, but I'm happy to say that this is not the case in my example. Like every XM-18 I've ever owned, out of the box you need to flip it about 100 times to get the detent broken. And after that, I typically disassemble it and apply some KPL knife lubrication to the friction points of the knife, and it works great after that. So now I find myself with 6 Hinderer XM-18s. That feels like I probably have 1 or 2 more than what I really need, if need can even be applied, in this scenario. And yet I don't seem to be in any hurry to sell any of them. I have a really nice variety of blade grinds and finishes, which I really like. and I am really appreciative of the variety that I have in my EDC Skinny XM18s. And the Battle Black version is quickly becoming my favorite just because it looks so cool. Well, there you have it. There's my review of the XM18 Skinny Slicer in Battle Black DLC. I hope you enjoyed this video. Take care. God bless. And I'll see you in the next one. I hope you've enjoyed this production from the Through My Lens YouTube channel. If you did, please click on the like button and do share the video on social media. If you'd like to see more content like it, please do subscribe to the channel, follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and do check out Through My Lens at www.throughmylens.org.